Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone who is joining. I'm so excited to have this conversation today. We are going to be chatting live with several of our amazing CCS student ambassadors. I see them joining into the live now. Hey, Paige. I think I saw Lindsay's here. Awesome. So this is going to be Brenna's here. Awesome. Everybody is joining. This is so exciting. So what we're going to be doing for the next I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. We'll see how long we go. We are going to be chatting live with some of our current CCS students. It's one thing to get a perspective about school from a website or, ads, and it's another to talk to real people who are actually attending the classes. So the way this will work is I am going to invite into the live one at a time, one of our student ambassadors. We're going to learn a little bit about their major, what they're currently doing at CCS, and we're going to ask them one really important question, which is why they chose CCS, right? We want to know what their perspective is and what they're currently doing in the program. So let's get things started. We are going to start off. Oh, I see so many people joining. Hello, hello, hello. So we are going to start off with adding one of our amazing student ambassadors. I'm going to start off here with Miss Antonia. Yeah, sorry, I'm all excited. I can't even talk straight. So Antonia is going to be our first student to join the live. Hey!
Hey!
You got art in the background. You are ready for this.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. All things considered.
Yeah.
So Antonia, I want you to introduce yourself to the folks who are tuning in now. So could you tell us your name, your major, and what year you are at CCS?
Okay, I'm Antonia. I'm an illustration major and I'm a first year. I also just added an advertising design minor. Haven't started that yet, but
What made you add the minor?
I want to like go into editorial illustration more, and I feel like having a background in ad would help me out.
Makes a lot of sense. So, Antonia, do you live on campus or do you commute to CCS?
I lived in the ACB. Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. Lived past tense at the current
Right.
moment. Yeah.
I wish I still lived there.
I know, right? Yeah, understood. Okay, so big question of the moment for you. What made you choose CCS? Did you apply to other art schools?
I just ended up applying to CCS. I was gonna apply to a couple others, but when I toured here, I fell in love with it, and I liked how much available like all the studios, and I talked to staff, and it just felt so much better than all the other schools that I toured.
So it was just like you fell in love when you love at first sight.
Yeah, basically.
Kind of like Love is Blind on Netflix, but with colleges, maybe.
Right.
No, I'm so lame. Don't agree with my bad jokes. Well, that's cool. And now you're giving towards as a student ambassador, so that's kind of like a cool way things turned out for you.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you, and we'll see if folks who are tuning in, if you want to ask questions for our students who are on the live, make sure you add them to the question box so I can ask them while they're here, because we're going to rotate through a few different folks to get their different perspectives. So, Antonia, tell me what advice you would give to your high school self, knowing what you know now in freshman year of college.
Just, I guess, keep making art you enjoy, and even when you're in school doing all this like homework, and it's art and it's great, but remember like even when things get stressful and you're doing so much homework at CCS, like keep doing your own art, because it keeps you enjoying everything.
Yeah, I know it's an interesting pivot when you go from even art in high school, while there's assignments, there's still a lot of time to do art that's like hobby based or love.
Right.
And then when everything that you're doing art turns into an assignment or something that could be critiqued, it can kind of like, you're like, so yeah, that's a very helpful piece of feedback. So I'm going to check and see if anyone has questions for you.
Okay.
Any questions for Antonia before we move on to our next student? I don't see any questions popping up. I see people calling you their queen, so I think you have fans already.
Yeah, that's my roommate.
Hey, Rumi.
Hey, Ellie.
Well, awesome. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with folks who are viewing and tuning in?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for your perspective. I'm
Yeah,
really glad that you're on our team at
me
CCS.
too.
I'm glad you chose CCS. You're awesome. So, if you guys want to, do you want me to shout you out? You want people following you, checking out your work?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so if you all want to see what Antonia, I keep wanting to say Antonia is working on, or just snippets of people's lives, you can find her at Nina Marie Bella on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we are going to have our next student join in here on the call. And let's see, roulette, who we're going to talk to next. I see Shay. So let's add Shay to the call and get to know Shay a little bit more. There you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys now.
I saw your message. So welcome to the call. Where are you tuning in from?
I'm in Brighton, or I guess South Line, Michigan.
So not too far.
Yeah.
Cool. So I want you to introduce yourself to everyone who's tuning in. So let us know. Obviously, I said your name several times, but your name, your major, and what year you are at CCS.
Okay, so my name is Shay White. I am a senior right now in product design, and yeah, is that
Yeah,
you?
you've been here for a minute then.
Yeah, I know. So I'm finishing up my year strong, I guess, with everything going on. So
Yeah. There's a lot going on, but you got to make it to an industry day before everything ended, or everything, got put on pause. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that was really nice. It was super successful, and we had a lot of businesses come. And I talked to a few that were really interested, and I have a job now at Newell, so that was super exciting.
Wait, you have a job already lined up for after school?
Yeah, I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So what will you be doing?
I will be joining their appliance team, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet, but I know I'm gonna be joining that team, so I'm super excited. And I start on May 18th, so wish me luck.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon. I'm genuinely excited, you guys. Like, this is not manufactured. I did not know that Shay had a job, so I'm super excited for you. That's
Oh,
so cool.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw, I'm so proud. Okay, so back to the reason that we're here. I want to ask you, what made you choose CCS? Did you apply to other art schools? What made you decide on CCS?
So I did apply to other art schools, and I knew I was a very artsy person growing up. I knew I wanted to go into art school, but I didn't exactly know what major I would want to go into because I thought I would maybe want to make some, money with my career and be stable. And someone told me about CCS and actually told me, and I learned about their pre-college program,
Mm-hmm.
and I did that between my junior and senior year, so going into my senior year, I think, or either going into my junior year. And I did the 3-week program for product design, and I fell in love with it. It was like the first time I was really introduced to something like that. And then I ultimately chose CCS because they had the better scholarship.
Mm-hmm. Money, because that matters too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's awesome. So, what advice would you, since you're a senior now, you've been here for a while, you got your success lined up, you got your job lined up. What advice would you give to either yourself or another high schooler, yourself in the past, when it comes to applying to schools, looking into getting ready for their career as an artist or designer?
Right. I think it's never too early to start looking, and I don't think it's too early if you're in high school looking for an art school, or at least kind of seeing what you might be interested in. And then if you have something you're super interested in, go for it. And if you're already in college, kind of job looking or job hunting or internship hunting, is you apply, and time management within your projects. Because if you can nail that down within your school like regimen and your schedule, that help like build a better work ethic, and then that will show in your projects instead of procrastinating super last minute.
Yeah, I feel like that's a hard one for people in life, not even just high school. It's just like,
Yeah.
proactive. Well, I'll take some of your advice myself. So I'm gonna check the Q&A box and see if anybody, if you have questions, make sure you're clicking the little question box to ask questions of Shay. So if you have a question for someone who's a senior or someone in product design at CCS, now is your time to ask. So I'm gonna check and see what we have here. Oh, that's someone with a very specific question about the ACB. Can we have toasters in the ACB? I don't even know the answer to that question.
I think you can. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm not 100% sure about that,
I was
but
gonna say we might have someone else join in who's in the ACB, and they can let us
Mhm.
know. I know you can't have like hot plates or things like that, but thanks for
Right.
asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah.
But some asked about what resources are available to
Mhm.
school. So we have a thing called like the career development. It used to be called career services. So that's a great resource. You can talk with them, and sometimes like they won't necessarily line you up with an internship, but they might help you get your name up on the board a little bit, or name on the list if you befriend them and you kind of reach out to them seeking help. And even your teachers too, and sometimes even your students and your peers, because then they might experience something and they might put in a
Mhm.
good word. So it's a lot of like kind of word of mouth, and it's a lot of you seeking that help, either from a teacher
Mhm.
or a supervisor or a friend, because then that shows initiative that you want to do something or you want to try to get that internship or job.
Hmm. That's a very good advice. And one thing too with career development is like, yes, there's like the structured, like very career oriented things like the industry days or like pairing people with paid internships, but then also like sponsored studio projects, they're classes. So they're not directly like a job. I know there are several students who get job opportunities as a result of those sponsored studio projects too. So they'll
Yeah,
be working on a project for Nike and then get hired, right? Or work on a project for Shinola and then end up working there. So that's another
right.
way
Yeah,
too.
so we have like a really popular one. I don't know if they're gonna still do it every year, but we did one with Zenith, and a lot of people get internships
Oh,
that way.
yeah.
And yeah, I guess someone asked about Photoshop before starting CCS a little bit. I was mainly like painting and drawing. I did little Photoshop when I did that pre-college program, but yeesh did my work. I was like super proud of it then, and I look back and it was like not that good. But it's just practice, and I kind of had that kind of drawing background, so I feel like that sort of helped me. But people, I know a lot of people who kind of didn't, or they didn't think they're that strong, and you just kind of have to practice sketching or digitally or analog with, your color pencils. And people can just keep sketch every day. Sometimes it's really hard to do that, and then taking breaks is never bad too if you want to learn Photoshop. But YouTube is a great way. I've learned a lot of stuff like on Illustrator, on YouTube,
Hmm.
or Photoshop with all the tools and everything.
Hmm. And one thing for those who are nervous who've like never done anything digital, everybody in freshman year has a required digital fundamentals class, so it introduces you to the programs like Photoshop and Illustrator too. So in addition to self-study, there will be resources on campus to help with that. We're not expecting
Hmm.
you to come in as Photoshop pros. All right, so I see some more questions coming in. What should you do if you're going into college and you still aren't sure what to major in? That's a great question. You seem like you knew what you wanted to do because you were doing the pre-college program, right?
Hmm. Yeah. But then I know a lot of people, I know CCS, we have like an undecided program where I think maybe for a year or so you can kind of do your foundation course and figure out what you want to be in. But also, if you do a major, let's say like animation or something, and you go in half your freshman year and you're like, oh, I actually want to do fashion, I feel like it's easier to transition between different majors then, because then a lot of your basic classes will be finished and you won't have that much to catch up on if you do decide to switch. And some people switch in their sophomore year. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, I know for me personally, when I was coming in, I was undecided. I was like, I just like to be creative. I want to help people. I did the pre-college program. And unlike you, I was like, I don't want to major in this, but I like doing what I did. And so there's a lot of ways. Pre-college is one way to figure out your major. Talking to people who are in the major is another great way, which we're doing today, right? So we're going to hear from students from animation, from product design, from a few different other majors. So that's another way. And then talking to your admissions counselor, you know, a few of them at CCS, they can help you too if you have like an idea generally. And then like Shay mentioned, that undeclared major, the way that it works is your first semester, you're undecided. And for 14 weeks, you're experimenting with the intersections of art and design. And by the time you hit that 14th week, because you've been mentored and you've tried a lot of different things, you actually are guided to choose a major so you can then focus for the rest of your time at CCS. So a lot of tools that you have available. All right, Shay, you have been super insightful. Lots of senior year wisdom you've shared with us, and good
No
news. Again,
problem. Yeah,
congrats on the job.
thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to another student. But folks, if you have questions, please put them in the box. If you want to ask questions specific to Shay, mention that. She can answer in the comment section below. All right. Thanks, Shay.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye. All righty. So the next student ambassador that we are going to chat with is Lindsay. So I'm going to find my Valentine homie here and add Lindsay to the live stream. Yo, 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 what's up?
Yo, yo, yo. How's it going?
How's it going? I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good, hanging in there.
Hanging in there. I always say all things considered, doing all right. Well, I'm glad that you could make the call tonight. So I want you to do the same thing that we just had the first two folks do. Introduce yourself with your name, your major, and what year you are at CCS.
All right, so my name's Lindsay Valentine. I am a freshman as of right now, and I am in entertainment arts with a focus on digital film. So I'm a film student.
And what is your aspiration for after college? Are you interested in like the editing, the production, directing, shooting?
So I'm really into editing. I'm also getting a art education. I'm in art education with getting my teaching certificate as well. But the dream is to be a TV editor. So I love to do editing for, you know, television shows, either sitcoms or reality. But the backup is, you know, either wedding videography or teaching. So
you got a lot of plan A, B, C.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I like to plan.
That's always good. So, big question of the hour: what made you choose CCS, Lindsay?
So there was actually a lot of different things that played into it. My uncle actually went here in the 90s, so that was a huge part of it. And he works at Disney now, so that's kind of.
What does he do for Disney?
He is a creative director for designing Disney World. So he worked on the redesign. He was the art director for Disney Springs, the redesign of Disney Springs. And now he's working on a project that I don't think I'm supposed to say, so I'm not going to say it.
Trouble, and don't get us in trouble. Instagram Live.
But, and then also it's just really close to home. I live in Shelby Township. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but it's only like 45 minutes north. So that was a huge part of it. And actually you were a main contributor as well, just because, you know, you helped me find the resources and help me figure out what I wanted to do. Because, you know, for some people you don't know exactly what you want to do. And I came in as product design was my original major, and then I switched to illustration, and then I changed my major after I was accepted to film. So it definitely took a while, but you were just like, you know, you can do this. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as you know what you want to do before the end of your first semester, you're fine.
Well, I'm glad you figured it out. Well, and the interesting thing, like Shay was mentioning, you know, people change, is that nowadays careers are so multifaceted. There are people with, you know, a whole host of skills, so they can do multiple things that, you know, they pivot in their career. So it seems like you'll just have plenty of tools in your tool belt when you're done. So you said you're from Shelby Township. I know where that is. It's very close. But you stayed when our campus was open. You stayed on campus or no?
Yeah, I stayed in the Taubman Center. The main part of that was I'm applying to be an RA, so I'm waiting on that. But, you know, to immerse myself in the downtown experience.
How's that going? I mean, pre-quarantine, how is that going?
I loved it down there. I had no complaints as far as I never felt unsafe down there. I made friends the second day I was there. it felt like a community. I can't really complain about it. Feels like a
Mhm.
second home.
That's awesome. So, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your high school self or somebody in high school looking at art schools?
For my high school self, I would have told myself to enjoy free time because, you know, Nina said it. She kind of took my advice, but she hit the nail on the head when she said that, you know, do the artwork that you enjoy doing, because by the time you get here, you're going to be doing all that stuff where it's just like, you know, everything's critiqued and everything's graded, and at the end of the day you need to remind yourself why you're here. So the biggest thing for me is, you know, finding the time and managing my time well enough to be able to do stuff that I enjoy. So like, I would have told myself to make more artwork before I came here.
And you have, from what I remember of like your comic pages, you had a lot of amazing artwork then. So
Thank you.
it's cool to think that you'd be working on even more. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna check the Q&A box, see if anyone has questions for Lindsay. Whoa, holy questions! There are lots of them. All right, so here's a question, and you just spoke to this quickly, but someone asked, Bethany, hey Bethany, asked, are there any tips for time management?
For time management, that is a big one. So for me, I stress that all the time. I have been, the biggest thing for me is having an agenda. So I actually have mine right here, and every time I get told or like assigned something or told something to do, I just write it down in my agenda. I have it completely filled up, and it's pretty much become my best friend. So just keeping an agenda and keeping goals in mind is the biggest thing for me. So like at the end of the day, I'm like, what do I want to accomplish? Well, I want to get this essay written, and I want to get this drawing done. So if I do that, I can either watch an episode of The Office, or I can draw something for myself. You know, like during October, I did Inktober, so I was like, I got to get all this done so I can do Inktober, that kind of thing.
That's great advice. Great advice. All right, I'm gonna see. We have a few more questions. I may spread them out so you're not like answering all the questions. Let's see. Oh, here's a great question. It's very specific to you. This person asked, what tips do you have for editing videos? And I know you're just in the beginning of the program, but have any tips so far?
Well, for me personally, continuity and emotion is the biggest thing. We're actually learning this in my film class, but just like keeping the emotion in the video and keeping it continuous. I'm not sure what kind of videos you're editing, if you're editing films or if you're doing, memory videos, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, just making something that people will want to watch, because you gotta grab them in the first 30 seconds, otherwise you're not keeping anybody. So hitting a bang in the first 30 seconds for me is the biggest part of a video, and then from there you can calm down. But I think the start of your video and continuity and emotion is the biggest part for me.
Great advice. That's cool. Getting it from a real student. Can't buy this stuff. All right. Well, Lindsay, thanks for your insight and your freshman year wisdom. I'm going to pass along the gauntlet to the next student ambassador. But folks, if you have more questions for Lindsay, please add them in the comment. Lindsay, would you mind if anybody shouts you out in the comments answering those questions? Do you want people to follow you? I haven't been doing people's handles.
Follow me. Valentine.Premier Project.
Valentine.PRproj. P-R-O-G.
All right. See ya.
All right. See ya. All right, folks. This is roulette. We're doing roulette with students here. All right. So we've already talked to 3 amazing students. We have 4 more that we're going to talk with before the end of our time here today. So next we are going to move on to Brenna. So I'm going to add Brenna to our call here. Yo, yo, yo. Hey, Brenna.
Hi.
Oh, I like your art in the back.
Thank you. They're made of paper plates, actually. So.
So you made that?
Yeah.
So creative. Look at you. All right. So let's introduce you to the people watching live today. Your name, your major, and what year you are at CCS.
Okay, I'm Brenna. I'm in communication design and art education, and I'm a freshman at CCS right now.
Awesome. And for those who don't know, because I know communications design isn't common language for everybody, that's CCS's graphic design major. So it's graphic design, motion design, and interaction design. So Brenna, big question for you. What made you choose CCS?
Honestly, it was the art education program for me because I applied to a few other art schools, but all of them, like, you would get just the art education certificate, but at CCS, you get both your certificate to teach and a full 4-year studio degree with only an extra semester for student teaching. So being able to get a studio degree and the art education so I can choose to do either after I graduate was like the most important thing for me, in choosing CCS.
That's awesome. And what do you want to do when you're done with CCS? Like, what path are you most interested in pursuing?
I really want to teach. I love working with other people, so teaching is what I like truly want to do, but I also like having like field experience in design, to be able to like help future students in pursuing it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That's a good way of thinking about it, like having field experience that you can then pass on to the students you're influencing, right? That's cool. So, any advice since you're the teacher here? I mean, there's other art ed folks on the call too, but I keep saying call. I feel like someone's grandma on the IG live. I don't know what your kids are calling it today. What advice would you give to a high school student interested in, pursuing their interest in creativity or applying to art school?
I would say for myself, I guess the most important advice would have been just like stress a little bit less. Like it's gonna be okay. Because putting in a portfolio for me was really stressful, and then choosing an art school was also very stressful. So just like calming down a little bit, like it's gonna be okay. You've got some time. Like you don't have to know freshman year exactly what's gonna happen. Like you can just
Mm-hmm.
calm down a little bit. It's not as scary as it seems.
Yeah. So when you submitted your portfolio, how did you do? Did you upload to Sightroom? Did you get an in-person review? What was your process like?
I uploaded because I live like 3 hours away on the other side of the state, but I had visited and gotten a review in person before I came my junior year and brought a portfolio, to get a review to see where I could improve it, which was really helpful, for me at least, because then I was told, like, here's what you maybe should work on a little more, so then I could build into that going into my senior year and actually applying. But I used Slideroom to upload.
Well, so you did both. You got that feedback, you took it, and then you're like, I'm ready. Here's my Slido. That's the way to do it. I keep trying to tell students, like, don't be afraid. I know I understand like that nervousness and anxiousness to share work, but I'm like, we've been through it too. Like, yes, artists are, nervous and protective, but you gotta put yourself out there in order to get an answer. So I'm glad you did because you're at CCS now.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to check and see if folks have questions for you. If anyone's interested in graphic design or have any questions for Brenna, I'm going to check now. All right, so here is a question very specific to what you're studying. So how does the art education program work? Do you take them in one semester or can you spread the classes throughout?
You spread the classes out. It's a like 3-tier program. So I haven't actually started our education classes yet. You don't start at your freshman year if you're getting a studio degree. So you take like a couple sophomore year and then you move into tier 2 and take a few junior year until you finally student teach after your senior year. Your like last semester, your ninth semester, I guess. But yeah, it's spread out over 3 years.
Awesome. And I saw another question for you, Brenna, which was related to graphic design. What's your favorite medium to use for graphic designing?
I'm pretty partial to Illustrator. I like working digitally. So far I've been taking typography and motion design. And motion design is more like videos and animation, like of type. But I like working in Illustrator. I like what it can let me do with type and how designing works.
Very vector based. That's cool.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to check and see if we have any more questions for Brenna. Oh, we already answered the question about the toaster, so I'm not going to push that one. Okay, I think that is it. I see one more question. I think we might answer that at the end. If there are questions that aren't specific to you, I'll make sure we answer those all at the end, all right? So
Okay.
thank you, Brenna, for your
Thank
insight and
you.
sharing a little bit about the art education program. I know you're going to change the lives of so many students once you're done with CCS. So we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All righty. All right, folks. getting through the list. Again, remember, if you want to ask more questions of Brenna, add them in the comments so that she can answer and reply. All right, next we are going to add one of our senior student ambassadors, Oliver, to the IG Live here. The anticipation kills me every time you say, like, where it says, like, waiting for the person to join. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Hi, Fred.
Hello.
Everybody has nice backgrounds.
Oh.
What's yours? Is this a piece of art? What is this?
No, my boyfriend really likes wall things like this.
Wall coverings?
There's a lot of them.
It looks nice. I enjoy it. All right. So, Oliver, introduce yourself to the group. Obviously, I keep saying everyone's name, but name, what year you are at CCS, and your major.
I'm Ollie. I'm a senior in entertainment arts. I'm technically in animation, but I haven't taken an animation class since my freshman year.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I do 3D pre-production, so I don't animate. I do everything that would go into a game or a 3D animation before they would animate it, for the character side specifically.
Cool. So, the question of the hour, what made you choose CCS?
Well, I was looking at a lot of schools with 2D animation programs because that's what I wanted to do originally before I came to school and figured out what I wanted. And CCS was always in my top 5. It's really close to where I live. And it just seemed like a nice school. One of the things that impressed me was that there were short films that I had seen prior, not knowing they were from CCS, and then finding out they were from CCS was really exciting for me. Mm-hmm. But then CCS was actually the only school that I ended up applying to. Because I talked to Sasha, who was my admissions counselor at the time. She came and visited our school my junior year and my senior year, and she really convinced me and gave me a really positive portfolio review that made me feel really confident. So I just went for it, and I haven't regretted it. So,
well, I'm glad because you've been here for a while now.
Yeah,
you regretted it. All right, so since you're a senior, you had a lot of experience at CCS. What advice would you give to your high school self?
To my high school self, I definitely agree with some of the past advice that was given, which is just like, if you have something you're really into in high school, just keep doing it, because a lot of the time you might not have as much time as you want to do it once you're in college. And then also just like keep exploring different things. I wish I had gotten more into 3D art in high school, but it's not something I'd ever considered as a potential job for me, or like even just a part of the art world that I was interested in. Mm-hmm. And once I first started like playing with it in college, I fell in love with it, and it's like the only thing that I've wanted to do since. So like if you have the opportunity to experiment with different mediums and stuff that you might not have touched before while you're in high school, definitely do it. Because like even my senior year right now, I've been taking ceramics classes, and I've been having a lot of fun with those. And that's something that I had access to in high school, but I never tried. And I definitely wish I would have gone back, or if I could go back and change anything about high school, it would have just been to take more diversity in the art classes I was taking.
That's really good advice. I think I could take that advice myself. It's sometimes easy to get tunnel focused, like this is my path or my career, or this is what I really, really love. I know, for example, a lot of students love like anime. They're like, I want to do animation. I want to specifically do anime. That's all I want to look at, draw, and talk about. But then, diversifying your experiences, the class you take, like you're saying, can expose you to something you didn't know you loved. That's really cool. So I'm going to check the question box to see if we have any questions for Ollie here. Okay. Here is a question specific to you and your background. So what tips do you have for character design? I like that this person, I don't know what this person's name is, but their questions are really great and very specific to the person who we're talking to at the moment. So thanks for these amazing questions. But yeah, Ali, do you have any tips for character design?
I don't necessarily do it myself, but just generally with a lot of the critiques from my friends that I've seen them receive, a big part of it is just learning shape language, and the way that like motion flows through forms is really important. at the end of the day, like the silhouette of a character is what makes it memorable. So you want something that stands out just through shape alone before you even think about the colors and stuff like that. The shapes are like the building blocks for everything. So I'd say that's like probably the most important tip, and the one that you'll hear the most come up in critiques is just shape language.
I see another question came in. What software do you use, or would you recommend to newcomers?
So personally, with the work that I do, I use ZBrush more than anything else. It's a 3D sculpting tool. It's the industry standard program for sculpting. It has a free version called Sculptress, which is kind of clunky, but if you have a computer that can run it, and you just want to try playing around with 3D sculpting, that or Blender would be a great tool to start with. They're both free, but there's also the program that we use at CCS is Autodesk Maya, which is the other standard 3D modeling program for the entertainment industry. If you are more interested in like product or transportation design, they have their own set of programs that they use that's pretty different from ours. But those are the kind of basic two, and then everything else, like if you were looking at drawing more so, it would be Photoshop, Clip Studio, or Procreate are kind of the big three right now.
Awesome. You gave everybody like a whole shopping list depending on what they're interested in, which is awesome. And free options, which is even better.
Yeah. Well, even
right?
like Clip Studio and Procreate are under $30, both of them. So
go get that software, folks. All right, so I'm gonna check in. So I'm gonna add an illustration student to the call who has, in my mind, one of the best Instagram handles because it's so cute. So let's see if Tim, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. We just did our Verizon commercial. All right, so let's get into these amazing questions. You're the first person without like art in the background. I see you have books. Nice.
I mean, I'm in illustration, so I mean.
Makes sense. All right, so introduce yourself to the group. What's your name? What's your major? And what year are you at CCS?
My name's Tim. I am a senior in illustration, but I'll be graduating in the fall. And yeah, I'm in illustration, but I have kind of more of a background in EA kind of stuff, entertainment arts type of illustration. So yeah.
What do you want to do when you're done with CCS, Tim?
I really want to go into visual development or like motion graphics if I stay locally. So it's going to be fun to learn how to do like After Effects and everything. So
got you. Now I want to ask you a question before we move on to the big question. Only because you mentioned that you have sort of this EA interest and background, but also illustration. I know there are a lot of students who apply who are interested in both illustration and animation. So can you speak really quickly to just like in a couple sentences the differences between the two? If not, it's fine too.
It's more like what's that word? It's like it's books and stuff like that. Whereas animation, it's movement and they're both different forms of storytelling. They're both visual, but it's just like one is more like stationary. That was the word I was thinking.
So stationary versus motion based.
Yes, yeah.
And you're interested in more of the stationary is what I'm getting from you. Or
I'm
maybe
more interested in like animation kind of stuff. So like I'm taking an animation 1 class right now as a senior, but it's really fun. It's way different than illustration. So yeah, it's not what I'm used to, but it's fun. So
you have a lot of like animated inspired stuff on your Instagram too. I stalk you. Not in a creepy way, but like you have really cool work. If you aren't already following some of these student ambassadors as I'm mentioning them, go follow Once Upon a Timmy. Timmy posts amazing work. So Tim, big question of the hour for you. What made you choose CCS?
I chose CCS because first off, I kind of grew up visiting the suburbs of Detroit because I had like relatives in Roseville. And just this being like one of the biggest cities in Michigan, I did kind of want to stay within the state. Like I've looked at Chicago, I've looked at Cleveland, Ohio, but really Michigan just it's where my heart is. So I have to stay here. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And since you're a senior, what are you looking to do once you're done with CCS? What are you looking to have on the horizon for yourself?
I'm hoping to get like internships somewhere, like maybe some different companies outside in the suburbs that need motion graphics and like other animation type of artists. But there's also like trying to go out to California for like one of the big LA studios.
Mm-hmm.
So
Got
whichever first.
options there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another big question, and then we'll get into the Q&A box. What advice would you give to yourself in high school as it pertains to pursuing your creativity or applying to college, anything like that? What would you go back and tell yourself?
Just don't doubt yourself. Just kind of like go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same advice I followed when I transferred into here because I'm a transfer student. But like I just kind of applied on a whim and submitted a bunch of artwork that wasn't really finished yet. So, and you were actually one of the people who like contacted me about applications and stuff too. So that really helped out. And it like even though my work wasn't ready, I've heard other people say that they like seeing your works in progress. And yeah, just don't wait. If you know what you want to do, there's nothing to lose. So
That's so true. This is very true. Like there's literally nothing to lose. It's a free application. Yeah. So that's interesting. You're our transfer student on the call. So I'm going to actually ask you the question again, because how far were you in the college you were in before transferring to CCS? How long had you been there?
I was at community college for about like a couple years, and I was going through like a fine arts degree, but I ended up not getting my associates because I got accepted here. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna jump the ship and swim over to this island. But, yeah.
So do you have any advice for students who are currently in like community college or another school and they're interested in transferring?
Yeah, just kind of like go for it. Like just like the advice I would have given my high school self, really. Like you have no and you've been in school long enough, it's good to get like a change of pace. And yeah, you're never going to be ready when you're going through all these things, so it's just kind of like fun to see where it takes you. So
that's real wisdom you just dropped. You will never be ready. You become ready when you start, right? Yes, you can prepare for things, but there's also like paralysis by analysis. You can overthink things and never get anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made the leap. I'm glad you showed your work in progress and you're doing what you're doing now because your work is amazing. So I'm going to open up our Q&A box here and see. Here is a question. Which animators had an influence on your work or inspired you to work in animation?
Oh gosh. Growing up as like a 90s kid, I was a big fan of Glenn Keane, who did like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. So that was a big thing for me. And even though I didn't really start animating till this semester, just knowing how to do gestures and figure drawing, that really helped me out. And just having an illustration background and then jumping into animation things, that really helped me out as well too. Because like I knew how to do the form, but with animation, you start to understand shape language and just kind of connecting both of those and piecing it together in a way that like works for you and it's more readable. So, but yeah, Glenn Keane. So
it's nice that you have like a specific inspiration. I know some folks have like a genre or something general. You're like, this is the person who's working who changed it all. All right. Any more questions for Tim? I see some questions I'm going to ask for the entire group to answer. So I'm going to ask those at the end, but all righty. All right, Tim, thanks for your insight and wisdom. Again, like we did with the last few folks, if you have questions specific to Tim, make sure to tag him in the comments and ask your question so he can respond. We are going to move on to our last student ambassador of our live. Dun, dun, dun. All right, Tim, thanks.
Bye. No problem.
All righty. The last student we are going to add is Paige. Let's see, there's Paige. Beaming you up, Scotty. I'm so lame. Oh God. There you are. Hey Paige,
Hi, Brandy.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
You went back to the trend with art behind you.
Oh yeah,
Nice
my
collage. Is
my
this your
big thing.
room?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Inspiration galore. Okay, so I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. Be
Alright.
redundant and say your name again. Your
For sure.
major and what year you are at
Mhm.
CCS.
All right, so I'm a junior here in illustration. My name is Paige. What was your last question? Sorry.
Those were the three. Those were
Okay,
the
cool,
three.
cool.
Yep. So Paige, big question for you is what made you choose CCS?
A few different things. Partially it was proximity. My parents live in Milford, which is about 45 minutes out from here. But I was looking at a few different schools in their illustration programs, and I would say CCS was the school that showed the most work from the get-go, that I could get like a sense of the kind of work that was coming out of CCS. And I also had a friend in high school who had a sister in CCS illustration, and I saw the work that she was doing, and I was like, that's really cool. I want to do that. So that was part of it. Part of it was also like honestly scholarship, because CCS does, give a good amount of scholarship. But, yeah.
Say it out loud. You don't have to whisper that. We do give a good amount of scholarship.
Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. So tell us what advice you would give to your high school self about pursuing your creativity, applying to school, anything like that.
I would say, I would echo what a lot of people have been saying before, which is, appreciate the time you have now and use that time to produce the things that you really like. And also just like, lose some of that like fear, and trepidation about showing people your work. Because by and large, people are going to be pretty nice. And, like it's really good to get that feedback from the get-go. And also I would say spend more time drawing from observation and like honing those skills and like really learning how to see objects as they are, and kind of get a jump start on that sort of thing.
That's some really good advice. Yeah, I like that there's a theme with the advice, and then there's like specific little nuggets that you all add. So tell me this: since you're a junior, you're moving close to senior year. What are you hoping to do when you're done with CCS?
I'm primarily interested in editorial illustration. So that's largely freelance work for short stories and articles and stuff like that.
That's exciting. Any idea of a dream client or a dream job? Like if my illustrations were here, then I would be like, oh.
I mean, like the New Yorkers, obviously, like New Yorker cover. That's like the big one, right? That like everyone who's doing editorial wants. Like that's the end all be all. So that would be amazing. But yeah.
I'm gonna put that out there for you. I just can't wait.
Put it into the universe.
Paige's illustration on the cover of the New Yorker. And it makes sense too, seeing your background in your room. I'm like, yeah, of course, that makes a ton of sense. You have that aesthetic already going. All right, so I'm gonna check the Q&A box to see if there are any questions. I see a question about internships. Do you have any advice for getting internships as a student?
That's kind of like the type of illustration I do. It's not really like an internship heavy type of thing. But I would say like as a general rule, I think this is good advice for anyone in a school like this. Be nice to everybody. And like your teachers especially, because like, we're like a wide field, but word travels fast, and the people that now, they're going to be the people that like talk to other people that might be the people that are hiring you for internships. So yeah, like it's a good thing to build relationships with everyone around you and stuff like that. I think that goes for like jobs, period, though.
Yes, but yes, jobs in general, but especially the creative community, especially like at a school of art and design. You never know. Even if someone's not in your major, you may be working with them, you may be interning with them, they may be your boss one day, they may be your employee one day. Yeah, that's huge advice. It's not just about your skills, it's about how you treat people too. Awesome.
Very much so, yeah. Because like if you're really, really good, but you're awful to work with, like like people are going to
You don't
hear
want-
about it. So
Right. That's very true. Alrighty. So I'm gonna check and see if we have any more questions for you, and then I'll see if we have any general questions. Anybody have any more specific questions for Paige in the chat box or in the Q&A box? I'm trying to make sure I didn't skip any questions either, because they were flying out there. One just popped in. Ooh, this is a great. Who is this person asking these amazing questions? Do you think it's more important to match your own style when doing a commission, or having your art match? Oh, I can't read the whole thing. Or having your art match the style of the commission?
I think it's important to make a lot of work and be very public with the type of work that you want to get, so that the people who are hiring you know what they're going to get from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like style wise, I mean, like, obviously, like, constant communication with your employer or the person who's like commissioning you, your client, is very important, so you can like have a dialogue. But if they've seen your work and they know the type of work that you produce, then that's what they want from your commission. So yeah.
Say it like a true pro. All right, Paige, I appreciate your insight, your wisdom that you shared with everyone here today. So I'm gonna boot you out, but please stay in the chat, folks. I'm just gonna close out with a few words and then see if there are any other questions that folks have. So again, feel free to keep adding your questions. But I want to make sure that you all know that these 7 amazing students that we've just talked to, they are our student ambassadors. So these are people who you have insights that you can, people who you can gain insights from more than just on this IG live, right? So I know somebody already mentioned in the comments, oh, I think Tim was the person who gave me a tour when I came to visit. Like, these are the students who give our tours. These are students who are calling some of you who are interested in applying. You know, these are the students who, when you DM us on Instagram, who can reply. So if you have questions, you want to ask these students more in-depth questions or talk with them one-on-one, that's what our student ambassador program is about, is giving you access to real students in different majors at different walks of life at CCS, right? So hopefully you're taking advantage of this, whether you're applying to our school or you're just interested in learning from other artists. That's what this is all about. So I'm gonna see if we have any more questions. It looks like we don't. I want to thank each and every single student ambassador. I'm going to shout you all out with their Instagram handle so you can follow them. So I want to thank Antonia, who is at Nina Marie Villa. I want to thank Shay, who is at SHAE Shay _342. I want to thank Lindsay, who is at Valentine.proj. Proj. I want to thank Brenna at bpotter.ai. I want to thank Oliver at Crowplex. I want to thank Paige at Paige_Netherlingham. I hope I said your last name right, Paige. And I want to thank Tim at Once Upon a Timmy. Such a cute handle. I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing your insights, your wisdom, and your experience with everyone watching. And if you have more questions beyond today, make sure you DM us. I'm normally not on this page. These are the students, so DM them. Or you can email the ambassadors at collegeforcreativestudies.edu. So email ambassadors at collegeforcreativestudies.edu, and they'll answer your questions. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their Friday evening. I hope you can go and enjoy your weekend. I know it's a hard time for a lot of us, but hope you can find some joy. And as always, stay creative. Thanks for tuning in, guys.